Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. I know Mondays are usually people's favorite days of the week. So I just want to welcome all of you here today on this Monday afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And hopefully, if as we get more people here, people would be able to experience what we're going to experience today and join us here. Today's going to be a little bit unusual because I am not going to do my traditional Bible study that I've been doing, if you will. I'm going to focus today on the hurricane that they experienced in the East Coast. And what's crazy is not only was that devastating, but there's another hurricane coming right up against that. So today I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to do an interview because last Wednesday when I did the interview with Pastor Chris, I heard some of the things he was saying, but I didn't really get it. And so I mean it just didn't compute, right? If you will. And he's been out there on the front lines. He's doing work, helping other churches, helping the community around him. And actually, we caught him while he was, I think, driving back or driving to helping a church out, taking them water and different supplies, important supplies. And so, after Wednesday, I'm watching the news and I'm seeing some of the things and hearing some of the things that he told me firsthand, but I didn't really, like I said, it didn't compute. And so, like, for example, he told me, I can drive 100 miles in each direction and there's no power or water. He told me that. And I'm like, I got it. It's not that I didn't believe it or anything. I mean, of course I believed it and all that, but it just didn't compute. And I was just like, man, like, that's crazy. And then I started hearing people on the news say that. And I seen how devastating, like, for example, Pastor Chris said, some people will be out of power for weeks, maybe even months. Again, didn't compute until I heard people on the news say the same thing. In the news, where the areas have been hit, they said they have not heard or seen, will not have power in the next weeks or months. And so I'm like, man, that is crazy. So what I wanted to do this morning is bring Pastor Chris in. I'm going to bring him in a second. He's with us now, right? Let me see. He's with us now. Let me see. Let me get to this. I don't remember how to get to this. Help me out here. Help me out. All right. I'm going to work on getting him in a second. But we're going to bring in Pastor Chris in a second, but he's with us. And but before I bring him in, I wanted to show a video because this video is powerful because it kind of gives us a snapshot. It gives us a snapshot of what is happened to this one particular family. This is a mother who's being interviewed, and she's been interviewed with her sister. And she was actually on a roof of her house. And so it was her parents, and her 7-year-old son. And so they were on the rooftop, and they were, she's thinking they're going to be safe. Someone's going to come and rescue them. It's crazy because in this interview, I'm laughing at someone just commenting on something on me. But it's crazy because she's thinking she's going to be safe, and then the roof collapsed, and she loses. Well, I'll let you see the interview, but I want us to see this interview because, again, it paints the picture. It shows what happened in this. So let me go ahead and reel this up.
Tell us about Micah and the legacy that he's going to leave on this earth.
This moment. I'm so proud of my son because in his last moments, he wasn't screaming for me. He was screaming, Jesus, Jesus, save me. Jesus, I hear you. Jesus, I'm calling upon you. And wildest dreams and everything that he wanted to be was a superhero. And that was his goal in life. And instead, he's my hero because
I'm sorry. Let me get back to that. Let me restart it. I apologize.
Tell us about Micah, and the legacy that he's going to leave on this earth.
this moment. I'm so proud of my son because in his last moments, he wasn't screaming for me. He was screaming, Jesus, Jesus, save me. Jesus, I hear you. Jesus, I'm calling upon you. And his wildest dreams and everything that he wanted to be was a superhero. And that was his goal in life. And instead, he's my hero because he reached for something past flesh, past human, past anything that even grown adults, I think, would reach for. My son called out to the one God Almighty. And I think at that moment he was rescued and he became my hero. And I think all of them carried me through that moment. I think that his biggest dreams, he was the smartest, bravest, hopeful, great friend, great son. I couldn't have asked for a better son. And he was so happy up until the very end when he was screaming for Jesus. And in that moment, I think he found joy.
The innocence of children is actually quite spectacular. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it is. Marissa being a mother too, Megan and Heather, I do, amidst the tragedy, your parents as well, Jessica included, how will they be remembered? Heather, if you don't mind sharing about your parents.
Our parents, like everybody, were not perfect, but since the time that we could talk in our little Southern accents, they taught us Bible verses. And my dad we had a big piece of cardboard, and for every Bible verse we memorized, he gave us a star, and they're the old foily stars that I don't even know if they make them now, but we got one for every verse. And those verses to this day are in our hearts and in our minds. And I think they wouldn't want to do anything else in this moment but to give honor and glory to the Lord Jesus Christ.
And one verse in particular, Micah 6:8. He has shown thee, O man, what is good, but what does the Lord require of thee but to do justly, love humbly, and to walk humbly with thy God.
We're a little rusty.
I think I know why Micah got his name now. Yeah.
Yes, he did, in honor of my father and in honor of that verse.
Yeah.
You two are incredible. And I apologize. It's so emotional. I think anybody watching, it's hard not to get choked up. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Whew, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Will you tell them why I'm sorry. I have a 7-year-old. I have a 7-year-old at home. And so I do want to ask you, oh my gosh, I've never done this on air before, but I think people watching need to know that when we talk about over 120 lives that have been lost, these are brothers and sisters and sons and mothers and fathers.
Yep.
Prayer and faith is getting you through this, and it is such an important thing to lean on in this time. What is it you want people watching to know and to understand as we continue to bring coverage out of Asheville, out of North Carolina, out of these communities that have been so deeply and forever impacted?
I want them to remember that there is joy beyond the pain, that while we are wrapped in sorrow and while we are wrapped in grief and overwhelming regret for all the things that we could have done that we didn't, that they are happy and they are joyful and they are all around us looking down. And my son couldn't be more proud at me for hanging on. My parents were probably lifting me up when I was in between the two things that were holding me down. They are rejoicing at the fact that I now can tell them what God did for me, because it was God. He said, be still, I am in control, and you will pass on. This is a backfire for the devil, because he tried to take me out. And here I am sharing the word that my 7-year-old is a hero and my parents live on in God's glory. Mighty, mighty Micah man.
I'm struck by your spirit. I mean, and having the support of your sisters. I know when it comes to this event, I would imagine you being in the water. I know it's hard to gauge time. Was it a few hours until you were rescued, and how that rescue took place?
I was in the water for 5 hours. I was in the water for a very long time down the river. I got caught in some trees, and things were hitting me. I got dragged under a few times, and that's when I remember being in a tree. And I remember thinking, well, like a voice told me I cannot stay here. I have to let go because they couldn't find me there. And I had to trust that voice to let go and to hope something else was waiting for me. And when I did let go, I heard the voice say, "Be still, don't fight the water." And then I ended up in between the two carriers that stuck with me the whole time. And I waited for about 2 hours until God blessed me with a man that saw me and the rescue team that provided for me. And I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, that's just amazing and devastating to hear that story, and especially that they are so strong. She was so strong in talking about her about her feelings towards her son dying and her parents dying, and that they're in a better place. It's just amazing. I'm going to do my best to try to bring in Pastor Chris. Oh, there we go. Oh, it works. Pastor Chris, I know you just heard that story, and just tell us what you've experienced, what's going on in your neck of the world, because your neck of the world, this is what they're experiencing. If you could just help us out through this and here in the West Coast and help us understand.
Thanks for having me again today. That video is heartbreaking. It does remind us, though, and I've always, my dad always enforced this in me. If we truly believe what we believe as Christians, death is nothing to be sorrowful about for a believer. We should be joyful, and and that's a hard place to find sometimes. But when you realize Mama and Daddy and the son are much better off now. My mom and dad are much better off now, and I will see them one day. So incredible testimony. I was crying through it. We're in a good spot. I mean, where I'm at, we still have power, water. It did very little damage here. We've had more inconveniences from that chemical fire you may have read about, which I think is still burning. Every night they give us shelter-in-place notifications. But about 75 miles east of me to 100 miles east of me, they're still without power, especially a lot of the rural areas. And this is and I don't know what it's like in California where you live, but once you get out of the city, in a lot of these little cities, it's well water. It's a septic tank and well water. So if you don't have power, you don't have water. And so you have no water, no power, no nothing. Last week when we dropped that off, I didn't mention this. I mean, I was shocked. There were that church was doing an outreach that day for a couple hundred hamburgers, a couple hundred hot dogs, and cases of water they're passing out. And two and a half hours before it's even supposed to start, people are stopping by asking, can we get a case of water? Can we, because they have. And then the other thing that's tragic is the gouging. One or two little gas stations around there were using generators and charging $10 a gallon. And, my attitude is, God, please let your divine vengeance bankrupt those people. Okay, that's not a good prayer. Maybe I shouldn't go there. But that's my attitude. Because it's so tragic. I guess it hits home for me really hard up in North Carolina. That's where I grew up. I did 20 plus years of youth camp. Near Chimney Rock in this little town called Hendersonville. There's another little town we used to go to all the time called Bat Cave. As a kid, I loved that. I just did not understand why Batman did not live there. We went up there all the time, and a lot of those towns are just possibly forever changed. And I read just yesterday or today, some of those areas they're projected may not have power for 4 months now because the substations, there's like 360 substations in that area, they're gone. So not only did they have to run wire and cables, they have to rebuild all these substations. My conviction is it'll happen quicker. I really do believe that. The other side that is beautiful to see is just the compassion and the goodness of American people. There is one story I read about FEMA has stopped certain things and done certain things and not been on the ground. Whatever. One guy, because you can't get a plane there, you can't get a helicopter there. He's using mules, and he's got a team of mules, and he's backpacking, with these mules, just like the 1800s, taking it up there, taking supplies. And then you hear the other stories of people who have no power, have no water. One guy actually went and to deliver a meal to this woman. No water, no power. She's 75 years old. She looks at the young man and she says, "Son, I'm good. I'm okay. Take that to somebody who needs it. But I just finished dinner. And if you would like to stay and eat with me, you're welcome to stay." So, here's her attitude. And I got to be honest, the people of Western North Carolina are probably some of the most gracious, good people. They get a bad rap, I think, media-wise, and for being mountain people or whatever. Some of the best, most gracious, humble people you'll ever meet, and they will overcome it. It's bad, and then the bad thing is, like you just mentioned, there's another one coming towards Florida, and probably going to hit Tampa. And Tampa took a lot of flooding in the last one, so I think the biggest thing people need to realize. This is not going to be over next week. The church we helped, and as I was driving to help that church, I mean, I'm not a real large church. I mean, we've been larger than we are before, and COVID, blah, 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 and we're rebuilding, and we were in a building transition right now. And as I'm driving there, I really felt impressed with the Lord, and it's overwhelming. Our church took an offering up that Sunday before last week. We took that, and it was about $1,000. We actually put some more money with it. It was so little to me because of what prices are, and bootlegging liquor or something, because I had all this gasoline in the back of my truck that I didn't want anybody to see because that's liquid gold. But I really felt impressed with the Lord. If everybody can help one, I can't help other churches. I wish I could. If I had the money to do it, I would empty it but I can help one. I can help that one church. And so that's what our partnership is. They're calling me tomorrow to let me know what else we can bring this week. They've got some other churches helping. And to their credit, they're just a great group. They fed about 400 people on Tuesday. Oh, no, when was I there? Wednesday. And then they fed another 400 Thursday. So they're just, giving and being a resource. That church may have power. I'll find out tomorrow. They may be, but they're in that little city. They have water, thankfully. So
yeah, that would, having neither would be, man, devastating. But you had mentioned about the power situation. So I think this was taken last week. But you could see the graphic on there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see that patch there that has no lights. That's supposed to be all lit up, right? Upper part of Florida and up, that has no power. So that was amazing to see because of what you were telling me and what you were saying. And so I love that. I love the fact that you're saying just helping one. You may not help, and you were like, man, if I had $1 million, I have 10 or 20 or whatever. But just to help one, that you're making a difference on that one, and so are you planning to, they're giving you a call and you're planning to go back out there, or Pastor Chris, while you're talking, I'm going to roll some video behind you while you're talking. So you're planning to go back though, huh?
Yeah, we actually took up another offering yesterday from our church, and we'll add some more money to it, probably double it. And he's supposed to call me Tuesday, tomorrow sometime, let me know what they need. My opinion, they'll probably need gasoline again, which again, where I'm at, I can get it very quickly. But it's about 100 miles, which is no big deal, and I'm glad to do it. Glad to do it. So they'll probably need more food. I know one of the things for that little town, they only have one grocery store in that town. It's called Ingles. I don't know if I don't think it's a national chain. I think it's regional. But the supply or whatever, the distribution center for that company is just about an hour from there. It's under 4 feet of water as of last week. So they've already told them that that store will probably not reopen for the foreseeable future. Most of those grocery stores of that same chain around there have already said they will not be open for the foreseeable future. So that's going to be an additional challenge for that area of just finding, just being able to go buy food. So I do believe the National Guard, thankfully, has finally shown up. They got there, I think Thursday or Friday, late Thursday or Friday morning, and they're helping and they're doing good. And I know why I say, and I don't mean to disparage the National Guard. It was just so widespread. Again, it's trying to figure out where to be and do the most good in the quickest time so that it, perpetuates. So I'll find out tomorrow, what we're going to be able to do. And then the other side to that is my opinion, if they are on their feet in the next week or so, I've got a number of pastors and churches that I've preached for now in North Carolina. And in fact, actually one of my main leaders yesterday was not even in church. He drove to North Carolina where his sister is, taking her propane tanks and food and stuff so that, because we've got it here, and he knew he could get to her. So got a number of the areas up there, they won't even let you in unless you, and I get that. I mean, it's kind of, you feel kind of cheated in a sense, especially if you've driven ways, but he was able to get through and take care of her. So,
Wow.
That'll be here for a while, and then no telling how the impact or toll. And I've got a number of family and friends that are in Florida, right in the path of Milton. So, this will, and I guess it brings back tons of memories because when Hugo hit in '89, I lived in Charlotte, and I was flabbergasted. I cannot describe the amount of destruction that storm did. And one of the weather guys I heard made the statement that Helene had the winds of Hugo, and he mentioned the other one. I can't remember. I remember the hurricane that hit North Carolina, but it didn't have wind, but it had rain, and it just flooded the eastern part of the state. And he said, but Helene had both. And it's really hard to even describe some of the towns. Again, if anybody wants to see how bad it is in certain areas, look up Chimney Rock, North Carolina. And there is a before and after picture. And the before, there's a street, there's buildings, and the after, there's nothing. And when I say, again, I cannot even describe nothing. It's just, it looks like a river is still flowing through the town, and there is nothing there. So it'll take a while. So that's the one thing I would ask everybody to, not only prayer for the responders, prayer for all the people rebuilding. It's about to get cold up there, especially in the next probably 2-3 weeks. So now you got to find not only heating, blankets, shoes, coats, and those people have nothing. But again, I would encourage, and the other thing, I know you said this, but Samaritan's Purse, which is the Billy Graham Association program, Franklin Graham, they're located there, and they have actually done more probably on the ground work, supplying, helping during all this. They're a great organization. So that's the big sense of prayer, and then to realize that they can, again, you might sit back and say, well, I can only give $50 a week. That's $50, and if 100 people did that, that's $5,000 a week to help, and I've tried to teach my kids. I've tried to teach my church, you're only blessed and you only walk in favor when you're a giver. Generosity is the heartbeat of God. For God so loved that he gave. He saw a need and he filled it, and he did what it took. So I just encourage people, especially be praying. And I can't imagine an earthquake. I know I don't even know what that's like. Hurricanes and tornadoes are something y'all don't know what it's like. And every area's got their things to deal with. And sadly, right now, the East Coast, this is ours to deal with.
Well, so we're definitely going to keep you, and obviously the people that are going through this in prayer. That's one thing I'm asking everybody that's listening to pray, right, for sure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to keep in touch with you and see how this plays out, maybe how the next one's playing out. And I'm going to figure out a way we can give to you guys, or some way we could give to you so you can give to the other church or whatnot. So we're going to keep in touch, and we're going to stay on top of this. And but I really appreciate you coming on and just filling us in and giving us that the heartbeat of what's going on. And so, like I said, we'll be in touch. But thank you again, Pastor Chris. We'll be in touch, and we'll come back to you, I'm sure, soon. But thank you all for watching, listening this afternoon. And remember, we'll go back to our regular scheduled program tomorrow, 12 noon, and then we're going to do another interview with someone else on Wednesday, so at 12, and then we'll come back to Bible study on Thursday. So come join us. We'd love to have you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. We appreciate it. We hope to see you every day. Amen. God bless you.